Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to To Be Determined. Today we have a huge update on the alpha. They've brought back the dungeon breaker, but this time it's way better than it was before. But without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So if you saw my video from last week testing out the first alpha update, the main issue that a lot of people had with that was that using the dungeon breaker, which is the new pickaxe that you'll be able to use in dungeons to stonk without having to make a ghost pickaxe. The problem with it was that it was server side based. So if you have high ping, then it was going to be really bad for you. Mining through walls would take a lot longer than it does currently on the main server. Thankfully, they have changed it now, so it is somewhat client side. So walls will break perfectly fine on your side. So whenever you break walls like this, you know, it's insta break, unlike how it was on the previous alpha. And they also made it so that whenever you have a teammate who breaks walls in front of you, it will also break on your screen. Now that part is probably a little bit more ping dependent. So when someone else breaks a wall, it'll show up a little later on your screen than it does on their screen. But whenever you break walls, it is going to show up perfectly fine on your screen. Super quick, not based on your ping the way it is currently on the main server. And of course, there's going to be tons of new routes and things you can do with this, because you still don't have to do all of the old tech like you used to, where if you want to mine into a wall, you have to ether warp into something so that then you can walk through it. The way it is now, you can just walk up to a wall and just mine straight through it if you want to. There are still some restrictions. You can't break player heads. Pretty much everything else is going to be breakable, which is really, really nice. There's a lot of cool routes you'll be able to do with this. And of course, it's going to make a lot of things in the F7 and M7 boss fights easier as far as pre-dev, I4, coring, all of that stuff goes. Now, you will notice that the lore on the Dungeon Breaker and everything is a little bit different. It now has 20 charges instead of 30, but it used to be that it would take 10 seconds for the charges to reload. Now, you'll automatically reload a charge every second. You'll reload 2 charges every second. So if I go ahead and break a bunch of blocks right here, you'll notice that the charges are reloading super duper quickly. And you can see that based on the durability bar on it. So the charges are reloading right there at the bottom of my screen, and it's all the way back up to full. And even though I'm at full charges, these blocks will still be broken for 10 seconds long until they get replaced, which for the current routes that we have in the game, that's really all that you need. But I'm sure that new routes will be created that could require more blocks to be broken. So the admins have said there is a chance that they add in a progression line with this, so that you'll be able to upgrade your dungeon breaker to an even better dungeon breaker that will have more charges, be able to break more blocks at a time. They also have an idea, a Wither Essence Shop perk, where you'll gain 1 to 5 charges on your dungeon breaker after collecting a secret based on how much you've upgraded the perk. So at level 1, you'll gain 1 charge after collecting a secret. At level 5, you'll gain 5 charges. Trap Room could be pretty interesting to do now as well. You still can do the double pearl into the wall like I just did right there, but in order to get to this chest, I sometimes struggle with this pearl and hitting the chest right there, but that time I got it. If you do struggle though, you can hit the pearl and then break the block and then just pearl straight through the block to get up and then be able to break it. And then you can just mine through this wall right here to get to the bat spawn, and then just drop down and be able to get to the chest if you wanted to do a 3 out of 3 trap. The 4 secret trap room is going to be a lot more interesting, I think, but a lot of this is just be brainstorming. I doubt most of it is going to be in actual runs. We'll just have to see. Once everybody gets their hands on this update, I'm sure there will be a ton of new routes discovered and everything. But for now, let's just go see how F7 boss fight is going to work and the M7 boss fight is going to be a little bit different. The main thing is with gates. Mining through gates is going to be a little more interesting now. Everything else should be pretty much the same, or really easier than it is right now. So of course, while everybody is up here doing their normal, grabbing the crystals, the healer will go down for pre-dev, so you can just break through a block now. No need to use a chest to line up, and then you can just mine through this wall right here to get into this area. And in the burst scenario, whenever you go down to do I4 later in the fight, you can just mine through this section right here. Kind of want to do 2 blocks to the side so you can get a straight walk through, because these border blocks will block you off from being able to mine just through any part of the gate. So you got to be able to get around those, but you can still do your spring boots jump up to I4 and be able to do I4 right here. Now, in the case of the healer, or even early enter from archer, you won't be able to go through the stair and then mine through the wall right here. This iron block is not able to be mined through. But if you just stand on this iron block here, you can mine just through the wall right there. So it's a little bit different of a place to mine through the gate, but you don't have to line yourself up with a stair or anything to be able to get into it. And as far as getting into section 3, it's going to be pretty much the same story. If you try to mine through this iron block here, it's not going to work. So you just got to stand on the iron block next to it and then mine through the wall. But if we head back into section 2 that we just got out of, this is generally where the mage is going to be coring from, is this terminal right up here. I believe normally you like jump on top and go in through the stairs, but now you can just kind of mine straight through the wall right here to be able to get into core. So no need to line yourself up, especially with the stairs or anything like that. But if we head back into section 3 real quick, it'll be the same thing to mine through the wall to get into section 4. In the case where your mage is not coring, you'll be able to just mine through the wall with this iron block right here and just jump right through. Now, when the TPS dies for this scenario, you will not be able to mine through walls. If the TPS is straight up 0, your dungeon breaker will not work. But normally in those scenarios where your TPS is 0 and you can mine through walls, you end up getting lagged back to where you were before you started breaking the wall anyway, so it's pretty much going to be the same scenario that it was before. But in the case where you wanted to mine through the gate before somebody's finishing with their terminals, you can just straight up mine through the gold blocks right here to get there. And of course, mining down to the section where you'll fight Necron or Goldor, this block you can do, or any of these blocks here, but probably want to do this just so it's a little easier to fall through. And a lot of people were asking whether you can actually break wooden blocks and stuff with this pickaxe, and the answer is yes. You can just mine straight through the wood to be able to get down if you want to. It also does mine dirt and other things that pickaxes normally wouldn't be able to mine, so you can mine pretty much anything. You of course can't mine bedrock or border blocks with it, and like I showed earlier, it does have a problem with the player heads, but other than that, pretty much anything can be mined. Now, another issue people had with this update when it was first on the alpha was that you wouldn't be able to pre-enter a dungeon to be able to get good PBs. It doesn't even let you get more runs per hour just for PB running, and they have said they are firmly against this. This is getting patched out with this update, and that is on purpose. Which again, it was just for fancy PB running, so getting more runs per hour isn't even affected by this. So in total, for everyone, even if you're on higher ping now, this should equal faster runs for you. And by that, again, I mean more runs per hour. So again, PB running, you're not going to see the best PBs in the world compared to what you could get before with pre-entering if that's the strategy you were doing. But if you weren't doing pre-entering, your runs will on average be faster after this update, especially once the routes get discovered. Now, you cannot use the dungeon breaker to break blocks in puzzle rooms still, so a lot of people had issues with this as well when the alpha first came out. So that's still going to be the case when this drops on the main server, but they are going to make it so the secret in tic-tac-toe room won't be stonking reliant. So it'll just be in an open area. You won't have to click a lever or anything to get to it. And Boulder's Puzzle will now be able to be reset by Architect's first draft without it being completely destroyed. So if it's basically completely broken, you can use Architect's first draft at pretty much any point now. But that's everything I have to show you for today's alpha. Hopefully these changes are more to everyone's liking and we can see this on the main server within the next week or two. But if you want to hear about whatever changes when it does drop, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on our way to 30,000 subs, closing in on that red name, and every subscription, every like, every comment helps me out more than you know. So thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I will catch you in the next one. Have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless.